Well, it's being called one of the biggest drug epidemics across the nation. It's not methamphetamine or cocaine, but heroin. And it's hitting the streets and homes right here in Tippecanoe County. News 18's Krista Henry joins us now with a special report taking a closer look at the age of Narcan, the drug that reverses opioid overdoses. Krista?
Well, Jeff, first responders I spoke to for this story say that Narcan is actually nothing new and that they've been equipped with it for decades. But it's just been within the past few years that they've been using Narcan almost once a day, sometimes even more.
Static line, going to need you en route to possible heroin overdose.
It's a call Tippecanoe County paramedic Nicole Brooks responds to almost every day.
Shallow respiration. Repeating, possible heroin overdose, shallow respiration.
It used to not be as common when I first started. It was usually accidental overdoses, opposed to now they're actually using heroin and meth.
In the nearly 14 years that Brooks has worked as a paramedic in Tippecanoe County, she says it would be uncommon now to get through a shift without responding to a heroin overdose.
Some are not repeat offenders, some are new users or have used for a very long time and got some stuff that was laced with something else.
And it's become so common to respond to overdoses that Brooks says she's gotten to know the faces behind the drugs.
We actually get to know some of these people pretty well. Some of our crews can actually give you names, date of births, just by looking at them, because we've seen them so many times. I know a patient probably 4 or 5 times in the last year alone.
It's often a devastating scene for first responders.
A lot of times when we get called to a heroin overdose, it's because they're not breathing and they're blue. When we first get there, we just provide airway. We breathe for them.
Most recently, Brooks says the other life-saving answer has been found in Narcan, a drug that reverses the overdose.
And we give them Narcan, and the Narcan wakes them up for the majority of the time, unless they've been down for too long. But most of the time, we can give them Narcan and we can wake them up and they'll start breathing on their own again.
But Director of Tippecanoe County EMS Daryl Clay says Narcan isn't anything new.
I've been with the service for 18 years now. We've had it the entire time that I've been here. It was one of the medications that we always had on the like I said, within our supply. Up until a couple years ago, we didn't use it very often.
But in 2014, Clay says Narcan was administered 184 times. It was then administered 246 times in 2015, and he says so far already this year, it's been administered 314 times.
Part of the reason we originally carried it was if a patient had an adverse reaction to a medication that we administered it, that was part of the reason that we carried it. But unfortunately now with the trend that we're seeing, it's become one of our frontline drugs. It is a drug that we use, like I said, almost on a daily basis.
And while Narcan is being used every day to save lives in Tippecanoe County, Brooks says sometimes there are complications with the drug if it causes a patient to go into withdrawal.
With those withdrawals, it can cause seizures, chronic vomiting, uncontrolled vomiting, where that produces another issue where we have to protect their patient's airway so they don't aspirate. They can become very combative with us. A lot of times they become combative. They're not usually very grateful that we took their high away, so to speak.
And Brooks says perhaps the biggest problem of them all is that she doesn't see the heroin epidemic going away anytime soon. Now, most law enforcement agencies in our area are now carrying Narcan. It could also be bought over the counter at some drugstores.
Wow, that's pretty powerful stuff. Now, you said most law enforcement agencies, but I understand Lafayette Police don't carry this?
They do not. That's a good point to make. Now, something that Daryl Clays told me during one of our interviews is that they looked into it, but where the Tippecanoe ambulance service is located, which is downtown Lafayette, according to numbers, he says that they have about the same response time as Lafayette officers, so they're sticking with the paramedics and EMTs to administer the Narcan. He says as this problem continues to grow, they might go back and look at that.
Reconsider that. Okay, thanks.